Thank you very much. This is something very unique. It's Camp David, and this room is a very, very special room. I don't believe the press has ever come anywhere near it, but we are the party of transparency, and we believe in transparency. And I think it's good for you to see certain aspects of Camp David. It's a very special place. But it was not, I guess the last visit was with Eisenhower, where they allowed you onto the actual campus. And it's a long time ago, but never into this room. I want to thank all of you for being here. And again, this is a cabinet meeting. It's open. We have done a lot of open cabinet meetings, and I feel it works out very well. Everybody can ask certain questions. We'll let you talk about certain things we can't answer because they're ongoing and very important. But this is one of the most talented teams ever to serve the United States and in the United States government. This is a talented group of people. Let's see, I'll go one after another. Yeah, it's a couple of steps, but that's okay. It's an amazing group, and America is safer and stronger and far more successful than it was 2 years ago, and I think, frankly, that it ever was. I don't think it's ever been anything like this. We're building more factories and plants in this country than we've ever built before. And we're going to be, at some point, we'll be leaving this position, and we're going to leave this country in very, very good shape, better shape than it's ever been. When we took office, we inherited a total catastrophe. The last administration created the worst inflation in 48 years, the most dangerous and insecure border in history, and exploding trade deficits like we have never seen before, rampant crime, men and women's sports, transgender mutilization of your children, and chaos and bedlam all over the world. Other than that, they did quite a good job. In less than 18 months, we've turned around 4 years of disaster, and we now have the strongest border in American history. We went from the worst border, I believe, of any country in history. 25 million people came through in 4 years. And these are people that, in many cases, you don't want. They were murderers, they were drug dealers, they were people that you do not want. But now we have the strongest border in American history, and for the last 15 months, the report just came out again, we've had no people coming in through our southern border, zero. And it's almost hard to say, because you'd say, is that even possible? They had 25 million people came in. We have no people coming in illegally through our southern border. And that's in history, so think of that zero, a big, beautiful zero. The murder rate saw its single largest drop ever recorded to the lowest in 125 years. That goes back to, think of it, it goes back to 1900, the lowest murder rate in the history of our country. So that's something. Today, I just want to mention that we heard in Minnesota there was a cyber attack, and they blame it on Iran. I don't think so. I blame it on Minnesota because they're grossly incompetent. There was a cyber attack of 30 water plants, and I would blame it on Minnesota and the governor, the corrupt governor of Minnesota. They like to say, oh, it was Iran. Iran should be so lucky. Iran's got bigger problems than worrying about Minnesota. This month it was announced that inflation is dropping at the fastest rate in more than 6 years. Walmart, Sam's Club, Giant Eagle, and others are slashing prices by hundreds of grocery stores, and all of the stores, I mean, throughout the country, they're slashing prices, something that you haven't seen for a long time since my last administration. The stock market has set 73 all-time record highs since the election. That means all-time record highs, 73 days out of a very short period of time. And the typical 401k is up by more than $30,000. And when you think of that, if you add another $1,000 to it, it will be, we set the record in the last administration, a record still standing. This administration is going to blow my last administration away. When the factories that we're building at record, and we're not building them, all over the world they're building. They're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Germany with the cars. They're coming from Germany. They're coming from Japan, South Korea, Canada, Mexico. From all over the world, they're building auto plants here because otherwise they have to pay tariffs. The tariffs have made our country rich and successful. And all of this, I mean, I'd like to say it was the election. On November 5th, it was the election, and that's fine. But without the election, you wouldn't have what I've done economically. So we have the most successful environment that we've ever had. There's never been anything like it from the standpoint of investment into our country. It's 5 to 6 times higher than anybody has ever seen, than any other country, not just us, has ever had. On July 4th, we launched Trump accounts, a key provision of our great, big, beautiful bill. And these tax-free investment savings accounts have already been activated by over 7 million children. These are investments made in our future, which is our children. Our children are the most important aspect of our future, with more being added each day. So it's a tremendous hit, over 7 million, and really, it really just got going, I would say, Scott, about 2 weeks ago when it was, we got the final approvals. And we have over 7 million. Actually, there's never been anything quite like that. But millions of accounts are pre-funded with $1,000 from the U.S. Treasury, or generous gifts from private donors like Michael and Susan Dell and others who have given billions of dollars, billions. People are putting up hundreds of millions and billions of dollars into it and buying really a great future for children. When they turn 18 or when they turn 21, instead of having no hope, no future, they will end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars and maybe even more than that. So it's going to be something to see. With modest additional contributions, they'll grow by numbers that it could be over $200,000. We're looking at the timeline. I wish we had an economy like we have now, with the stock markets going up, but they will benefit by our country being successful. And we're going to give every child a head start on the American dream. So go to trumpaccounts.gov. They're really something, the whole world's talking about it, and it's far ahead of schedule. Nobody thought it would be as successful as it's been, but it should be. It should be, and we start them off with $1,000, and this was part of the great, big, beautiful bill. With my most favored nation policy, you could say this is even a bigger thing, if that's possible. On drug prices, we're achieving record discounts on prescription drugs. The prescription drugs were going through the roof for many years, and now we're getting record discounts with price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600%. Nobody's ever heard of a thing like that. And what this is all about is that we had the highest prices anywhere in the world by far. Most expensive drugs, prescription drugs, and others. The highest in the world. The whole world was laughing at us. We paid for the rest of the world. We subsidized the whole world. And I said, we're not going to do that. And I started it in the first administration. I took it up. Obviously, Biden wasn't able to do anything about it, because you had to get the consent of the drug companies, and you had to get the consent. More difficult would be the consent of other nations. The other nations had to agree, but they were paying a fraction, sometimes 10%, 20%, 40%, 70% less. So I had to call them and I had to get them on, and I said, if you don't do it, we're going to have to charge you tariffs. And they all said no at first, very politely said, sir, we can't do that. We're not going to double our prices. They had to double their prices, and in some cases triple their price, and we would come down. So a pill that sold for $10 in Germany would sell for $130 in New York. Same pill from the same company, the same factory, the same plant, same laboratory, from $10, and we pay $130. I say, no. Now the world is a bigger place, so it's not as bad as it sounds for them. So they went up to 20, and we came down to 20. So we now have the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world. We're tied with the lowest, but we're basically its favored nation. So we have the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world from the highest drug prices anywhere in the world. Now, what that does for your health care, I mean, I see these fake polls where the Democrats have wonderful numbers on this stuff, and they are horrible, what they've done. Obamacare is a total disaster. It's a costly wreck. It's unaffordable. We call it the Unaffordable Care Act. It's a disgrace. They never even thought of being able to do something like this. They didn't even try. They didn't even try. So I got the drug companies first, and then I got the countries. And the drug companies agreed because they knew the countries wouldn't agree. And when I called Germany, France, when I called the UK, when I called all of these countries, I said, you got to do it. It's unfair. We're paying 10 times more than you're paying for the same drug. You can't do this. And they said, well, we're not going to do that because we're going to have to double our price in order to make you happy. I said, no, maybe you're going to have to triple your price. They said, well, we can't do it. I said, that's all right. If you can't do it, then I can't do something also. And I'm going to charge you very substantial tariffs, which are far more than we're talking about. And they all said, we'd love to do it. We would love to do it. It would be our great honor to do it. So nobody else would do this. This would have never happened. So your drug prices have gone down by numbers not even thinkable. My first term, I had the privilege of having lower drug prices from the beginning of the year till the end for the first time in 28 years, you remember. And I called a news conference to announce it. So the year had ended, and I was turned out 1/8 of a percent, 1/8 of a percent, little tiny this much. It went down that much during 1 year. First time in 28 years it went down. It was always like this, just up, more expensive. And I called a news conference. I was so proud of myself. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, the first time in 28 years drug prices have gone down from January till the end of December. And I want to just congratulate everybody for being a part of this wonderful experiment. And 1/8 of a point now, we're talking about 400, 500, 600% coming down. We pay the lowest drug prices anywhere in the world from the highest. So, and I'll say it again and again because the press doesn't want to report it, the fake news doesn't want to report it. They don't want to talk about it. What that does for healthcare, Bobby, is unbelievable because medicine is a big part of healthcare. So I wish that people would understand that, and I hope they're going to vote for us in the midterms because you'll see some stuff that will be horrible because they can blow it very fast if they don't know what they're doing. So your drug prices are great. I saw Spain yesterday, and I watched the catastrophe that took place. It looks like an invasion of a country by hundreds of thousands of people. And that same thing's going to happen to us if the Republicans don't get elected, except worse, much bigger, much easier to get into, despite the fact that we have built thousands of miles of wall, which I said we were going to do, but we didn't have that, forget it. But we have the safest border in the world. If we're not in office, our country will be invaded at levels that made Spain look small time. And when I watched it, I said, I'm going to say it because I knew you were going to be at Camp David. And I say, that's going to be a talking point for the midterms. Because when you look at what happened to Spain, they don't know what to do. And it's happening again today. They're coming in by the tens of thousands. They're just invading the country. And what that is weak law, bad management, but very liberal law. They passed a couple of laws, and people read. People are smart. They read from other countries, and they swam that 3-mile swim or however they got in, but nobody's seen anything like it. That will look good compared to what's going to happen to the United States. The biggest thing, the worst thing that Biden did is allowing 25 million people into our country, because many of those people are criminals. They're murderers. A lot of murder. 11,888. A lot of them are gone now. We got them out. But they allowed people to come into this country that you can't allow to come into a country. We're also making an unprecedented investment in the United States Armed Forces, where we're doing great. And we rebuilt the armed forces. We rebuilt our military in my first term. But we are doing great with our military. They spent a lot of money in our military. They gave away $300 billion worth of ammo and everything else in Biden's term. But we're building it up fast, and we just have a great military. That's all there is to it. But we rebuilt it in my first term, and we're using it in my second term with Venezuela and other places, and Iran now. Iran is doing very poorly. Just in case you read incorrect stories, they're doing very, very poorly. They're having a hard time. They've been very dishonest. They've been very dishonorable to deal with. But that makes no difference. They're doing very, very poorly. We're also making that investment and looking forward to getting, Pete, $1.5 trillion next year. And people see now how important it is. We want to keep a safe country. We have to keep a safe country. And the good news is all of that equipment is made in the USA. So we're making it here. It's jobs. And each one of our defense groups are building literally at least 4 new massive plants as we speak. because we want them to move faster. We have the best equipment in the world, but we want them to move faster. We don't want to wait a year or a year and a half. We want to wait a week, maybe. So that's happening, and I think the results are very good. They're building at levels that nobody's ever seen before. And we've had tremendous success, and our military was just proud of it. Again, Venezuela was a one-day war.
White liberal
and
women
we have a great relationship with Venezuela. We're partners with Venezuela now, taking out tens of millions of barrels of oil and going to Houston, going to Alaska, going to Louisiana, going to different places for refineries. And it's been very much amazing. The administration has done more in 18 months than most administrations have done in 8 years if you had a two-termer. We've done more in 18 months than anyone's ever seen before. Nobody's ever seen. This is the golden age of America. And we have a war that's going on. I guess you call it a war. Maybe I call it a military operation, because they have no Navy. It's been obliterated. Their Air Force has been obliterated. They have no planes. Their missiles have been largely, they have some left. They have some, but they have far fewer than they had 4 or 5 months ago. Their manufacturing capacity is almost gone. The drone capacity is almost gone. There are very few, but they have some. If they have one, that's too many as far as I'm concerned. But we've done an amazing job with Venezuela. We've done an amazing job here. We're in there for 5 months, and I know what people like to say, because we've done a much bigger job, much more important job than we originally anticipated. So we're in there for 5 months, and if you look at Vietnam, they were in there for 20 years. You look at Afghanistan, they were in there for many years. You look at any one of the wars, Korea, any one of them, they're in there for many years. We're in for 5 months, and we have obliterated their military capacity. Again, they've got some left, but soon they won't have some left. So I just want to thank everybody around this table. You've been very special. I want to thank a lot of the media people, because many of you have been very, very fair and that's one of the reasons you're here, frankly. But you've been very fair. You've covered me this time, I mean, much more fairly, I think, than the first term. The first term was a great success. We had the greatest economy in history in the first term, and this term is going to blow it away. I think this term is going to actually blow it away. So it's an honor to have you, and I'd like to ask our great Vice President, J.D. Vance, to say a few words, followed by Marco and Pete and Scott and Bobby Kennedy. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody. Please, J.D.
Well, great. Thanks, Mr. President. First of all, thanks for having us at this historical and beautiful place. And it's an honor to be on the team, an honor to be able to work on fraud, which is what I want to talk about today, though I know we have a lot of things going on. This has been an amazing team, from Kelly Loeffler at SBA, to Doug at the VA, to Todd and Bobby Kennedy. This really has required a whole of administration approach to try to tackle fraud. There are a few things that I want to talk about and celebrate. The first is that just since the beginning of the fraud task force that I started under the President's leadership and direction, we have identified $230 billion of fraud that's being perpetrated against the American people, and we have halted already $56 billion of that. It's sometimes hard. Once the money has already gone out the door, it's hard to get it back, but stopping it from going out the door is how we save the American people. $56 billion, and of course we're going to keep on working on that. Just today, Mr. President, we will announce 17 new anti-fraud actions that will total about $1/3 of $1 billion, and that's added to the $230 billion that we've already uncovered. And I want to just talk for the benefit of the American people about why do we care so much about this? Because what I always try to remind people is that fraud has two victims. So to give one concrete example, there is a program that is administered by Medicaid, and that program ensures that low-income moms and low-income babies have access to neonatal care. Now, I think most Americans probably share my view that this is one of the great things about the United States of America, that if we see a baby and we see a young mother that requires help, we help our fellow Americans. That's a good thing. It's something that we should be proud of. And yet, there is a program that has defrauded the moms and the babies who benefit from these. You've gotten people who've gotten rich by setting up false companies that are providing false services. So who loses in that equation? Number one, of course, is the American taxpayer that is $230 billion poorer because of the fraud that this country has let go on. But I actually think most importantly is that we've seen that program run out of money. So we've seen moms and babies unable to access the health care that they need because the fraudsters have gotten rich. That is a disgrace. And until the president ordered us to stop it, no one was doing anything about it. So we've made a lot of progress, Mr. President, in just under a year, but we're going to keep on working at it because we believe the American people deserve to have their money spent as you and the Congress have directed it.
There's big numbers you're finding, tremendous numbers. They look like Elliot Ness. Does anybody know who Elliot? They look like that group of people you have lined up behind you. They're doing a great job.
Yes, sir.
Billions, think of, not millions, billions of dollars is being recovered, billions. And you haven't seen anything yet. We have things happening that people aren't going to believe. The level of corruption and fraud that took place under the Biden administration was unprecedented. And Minnesota, California, Maine, believe it or not. You know, you think of Maine as this wonderful place.
Yep.
It's the level of corruption is incredible, all over the place. So, great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, please.
Oh, my turn. Well, first of all, thank you for bringing us out here. I got the chance to drive for the first time in a year and a half, which is no hurt. It was fun. It was great. And so just a couple points that we all know. We've followed in the news, obviously, the events in the Middle East, and others here can talk about that. Not that they're not important, but there's some other issues happening around the world, Mr. President, that you've shown great leadership in that have not gotten nearly as much attention. I think they deserve to mention today. The first is the International Criminal Court is an illegitimate international organization that, frankly, illegitimate. They've made themselves illegitimate because they claim that even if you're not a member of that court, they can come after you. And what that literally means in the future is that American servicemen, political leaders, and others could find themselves under indictment by this International Criminal Court. And if you want to know a little bit about it, Jack Smith used to work there. These are the people that think they can go out and basically indict any world leader and haul them into The Hague. So we tried to get them to reform and listen to us. They wouldn't do it. They're very arrogant. We've now begun an effort to really try to bring that court to heel.
By the way, there's no information that they're after me. It could happen. But just so you know, just keep talking about it. I'm saying that means that maybe he's not trying to defend me. He is trying to defend Bibi and various other people. But there are many people that shouldn't be looked at that way. But there is no indication that I'm one of them at this moment.
Well, and I actually think the people who are in biggest danger in our system are servicemen, people in uniform. That they'll try to go out for the rest of their lives, will not be able to travel anywhere in the world with their families because they could be arrested on one of these. Imagine, you're a soldier, you fought in a war, and 20 years later they try to come grab you. So this is a big problem. So we've had dozens of countries already join us in this effort. Since we started 2 weeks ago, 5 countries have already quit the ICC and notified them that they're leaving, and we think there'll be more. The second thing is we had an unprecedented ministerial. 60 countries came to Washington, and we're a part of an effort where we were shedding light on far-left terrorism and violence. You know, the bomb goes off somewhere and it's tied to some right-wing group, or what I don't consider neo-Nazis right-wing, I consider them Nazis, right? But you're going to get a lot of attention on that. But if it's a leftist group, an Antifa group, that gets no coverage, or they ignore the ideological spin and the ideological reason behind it. So we got 60 countries came up here and hopefully creating a strong coalition to go after far-left violent terrorism. Go after it and call it by name, and I think we're building a very strong coalition there. We've had some successes in the Middle East, Mr. President. As you know, in the diplomatic front, the deal with Lebanon and Israel is unprecedented. President Ayoun was here a week ago. I think that was the first visit by a Lebanese president in over 30-some-odd years. In fact, this is the first time the Israelis and the Lebanese government have spoken at the official level close to 30 years. And that was thanks to your leadership. A lot of work to be done to keep that peace and build on it, but it's a real achievable. And of course, as you announced last night, Mr. President, this disarmament deal that you brought about with Steve and Jared's work on Hamas is another big step as well. It's something a lot of people thought would never happen. It needs to happen, but the fact they've even agreed to it is a real achievable. Last point is on the Western Hemisphere. For the first time in 15, 20 years, the overwhelming majority of the countries in the Western Hemisphere are now led by pro-American leaders and pro-American governments. It's an extraordinary achievement, all of it happening through virtually every election that's happened in the Western Hemisphere since you were elected president has elected someone who is pro-American. And I think this is an incredible situation. And last but not least, and I have to thank a number of agencies here, particularly the Department of War, after that terrible earthquake in Venezuela. Within 36 hours, the full force of the American government was on the ground providing humanitarian assistance. It was a sight to behold. The USS Ford, I think, was in their port. Our Marines and armed service personnel were helping run their airport and their tower. It is one of the fastest, most dramatic, and most effective humanitarian responses, certainly in recent history, if not ever. And they came at the direction of the president. In fact, within an hour of that earthquake hitting, I remember because I was overseas, the president called and said, make sure we go in there and help these people recover from this. And we did. And thanks to your leadership, Mr. President. It's a great story. Enough needs to be told about it because the credit goes to so many agencies represented here today, but really the Department of War's effort was phenomenal. So thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Marco. And just before we continue, I want to just congratulate Jay Clayton. He's with us today, as you know. He's had a big victory. He's going to do a fantastic job. He's only done his whole life has been about doing a fantastic job. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the invitation, the opportunity to be here. It's an honor for the War Department to help run this facility. Also, from the food to the fence line, it's an honor to have you. And it's great Americans here and all around the country and all around the world who are the core of what keep us safe. But in order to do that, you have to have a leader that's willing to put them in a position to do it. And that's my takeaway, Mr. President. Is sort of 3 points. 1, it takes courage. 2, it takes restoring a spirit, which you have done. And 3rd, it takes investment, and not just an investment, but a generational investment. And I think people miss that. The courage it takes to seal the border, to say we're going to do it, and we're going to do it every single day, and we're going to do it on behalf of the American people. The courage to bomb the Houthis and say we will maintain freedom of navigation. You wonder why they're not involved in this conflict, the Houthis, even though they're a proxy of Iran, because they've felt the weight of American power for 45 days, and you had the courage to do that. The courage to do Midnight Hammer and conclude the 12-day war by obliterating their nuclear sites, something other presidents had the option on their table to do, but they never pulled the trigger because of the complications, because of the challenges, because of the risk. Courage. The courage to take on the cartels and drugs, drug boats, and now forming the ACCC, the America's Counter Cartel Coalition, with all those friendly governments that Marco talked about who want to be shoulder to shoulder, not just with America, but with a bold, strong America with clear leadership. The courage to go get Maduro in the most dangerous, most heavily guarded house, inside the most heavily guarded fort, inside the most heavily guarded town in their capital city in the middle of the night, and change the entire dynamic of that country and that region. And the world saw what the American military was capable to do, that doesn't happen unless the commander-in-chief says you're authorized to do it, and will take the handcuffs off when you do it to ensure that Americans come home. The courage to undertake epic fury and this Iranian regime and ensure they never have a nuclear weapon, which remains your commitment. And frankly, the courage to negotiate with people that have shown no willingness to do so honestly, with incredible negotiators who are the best in the world, and give them every opportunity to do it, give those things up peacefully. All of that takes guts. But that comes on the backs of the change in the spirit of our department. You talk about spirit all the time, and you're right to do so. When you rip out DEI, when you rip out social engineering and social justice, and you put in merit, and then you untie the hands of commanders to be commanders, to enforce discipline and accountability, to get back to basics, then you get historic re-enlistment inside our ranks. Our best people, Mr. President, are staying because they want to be in that kind of department. And then historic recruitment record amongst young Americans. Every month, our department breaks records. And when did that trend line start? On Election Day, 2024, when the American people said, I want to serve under this president. And that new name, the Department of War, has become the ethos, the warrior ethos of our department. Again, spirit. And I will note, the flyovers will indeed continue until morale improves. But that's also spirit. Parades, 250, flyovers, the American people seeing and feeling their military in ways they have not in the past. That's spirit. And then finally, Mr. President, a generational investment. You rebuilt the military in your first term, and you've spent in your first year $1 trillion, and now we are committed in working with Congress to get $1.5 trillion. But this is not the same way we funded our department in the past. This is a businessman in charge. This is a deputy secretary of our department who's a turnaround guy, just like the president is, saying we will not fund money, we will not fund the department the way we have in the past. In fact, so far, $75 billion in private investment from defense companies who are now investing in new plants, new equipment, new assembly lines to build the munitions of the future faster than ever possible. That's saving taxpayer dollars because the companies themselves are investing. That would never, the arsenal of freedom would never happen without you. So just like, you know, we use a lot of the things Ronald Reagan's buildup was a part of, in this administration and in future administrations, they will look back at Donald Trump and the buildup that he has done, and that will be, the deterrence of the future will be established because of your investment. So thank you, Mr. President, for your leadership.
Thank you. Scott, please.
Mr. President, it's an honor to be here in this historic place as we celebrate our nation's 250th anniversary. And I think if we look back, whether our founders was President Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, could not have imagined the economy that we would have created. It is the envy of the world. And as you said, we have record investment coming in. We've never seen anything like it. And we're pulling away from the rest of the world because of your leadership, the policies that you did from day one in terms of digital assets, in terms of technology, and bringing back American manufacturing. You've done it again. You had the incredible economy during your first term, and we are seeing that carry over here. And it is in stark contrast to the Biden economy, which was government jobs, government spending, and high inflation, the worst inflation in 50 years. And with the working families tax cut, which I will add, every Democrat voted against. Every Democrat voted against. It is the perfect barbell for this economy. On one side, you have full expensing for factories, for equipment, for farm structures. On the other side, your four signature policies, promises made, promises kept, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility of auto loans if you buy an American-made car, and the Americans are starting to feel it. Core inflation is low, consumer confidence is strong. We have the highest consumer confidence, came up today, in 5 months, and Main Street is back. Small banks are lending, thanks to your policy. Small banks, community banks are lending again, and the Americans are starting to feel it. As you said, these Trump accounts are the most successful program launch in government history. We've had 7 million families sign up for them. We're going to get to open enrollment, and we will have 70 million families who have signed up for this. 38% of American families, households, have no exposure to our great equity market. And thanks to you, we're going to have an ownership society. An ownership society. You were one of the first presidents to create assets for the American people, not more debt. We had the biggest tax refund season ever. Trade deals, tax cuts, energy dominance, and the regulatory efforts. America is ushering in the greatest reshoring wave in our history. In June, our manufacturing sector expanded for the 6th straight month. We've got construction jobs, and those are going to lead into manufacturing jobs. We've got Main Street prosperity. Real wages are up $1,000. And sir, what you've done again too is the bottom 25% of wage earners, just like in your first term, are outperforming the top 25%. This is a working families administration. In the past year, that group had wage increases of 5.5%. They 3 times what the top end has done. So you've done it again, and these are private sector jobs we are creating. As you often say in these meetings, we could have created 1 million, 2 million government jobs, but we didn't. The private sector is creating. We've got incentives, we've got money coming in, and we are rebuilding. So, and then our energy dominance, thanks to you and these policies, you can come to the U.S., you're going to have regulatory certainty, tax certainty, and energy certainty, so it is the best place in the world to build your factory. And finally, I want to add, it has been a pleasure to be a part, or a privilege to be a part of, as we've gone from epic fury to economic fury, to constrict, on your orders, constrict the Iranian regime's the financial tentacles all around the world. We started it on your orders. We started it in March 2025. In December of 2025, the largest bank in Iran collapsed. The central bank had to print money, caused inflation. Now they got 180% inflation. They aren't able to pay their troops. And on your orders, we are searching for their assets all around the world, and that money will go to the Iranian people, Americans who have been harmed by the Iranians, whether the USS Cole or the barracks in Lebanon, or it will go back to when the Iranians attacked these ships coming out. So it's been a privilege to be part of that, and I look forward to the rest of it.
Thank you very much. And I want to just add that today there are more people working in the United States than at any time in the history of our country. We have more people working today, and we'll think of that number. I mean, more people working today by far than at any time in the history of our country. So it's been something very, very special. Bobby, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me just take a moment to take note of the historical significance of this occasion. Before the press came in, you asked all the cabinet members who had been to Camp David before, and I think about 3/4 of them had. I raised my hand, but I haven't been here for 62 years. I came here on weekends, as many weekends as we could between 1961 and 1963. My father loved this place. My uncle loved this place. Nobody knows about this because it's not in the history books, but he was resentful at Dwight Eisenhower for renaming it Camp David. And if he had made it to his second term, he was going to rename it Shangri-La, which was the original name that Roosevelt had named it. But my uncle prided himself on being the most open, transparent administration in history. He was the first president to have televised press conferences. During his 1,000 days in office, he had about 30 press conferences. You, Mr. President, have press conferences every day. Nobody's done anything like that. And here you've opened the inner sanctum of the presidency for the first time in history, and I think that's a beautiful thing. Because you also face, although you gave these guys a lot of compliments, the most hostile press corps that any president in United States history uniformly. So, anyway, I'm going to talk just briefly about a subject you alluded to, which is the MFN, and just so everybody has the background, you were here to every president promised to fix that disparity between what we pay and what the other developed countries pay. When you came into office, the list price for Ozempic was $1,350 for Americans. You could get it at any pharmacy in London, Hamburg, Frankfurt for $88. And every president, President Bush, President Biden, President Clinton, President Obama, have all promised to fix this, and none of them did anything. You fixed it. But today, time you leave office, assuming that's in 2028, 95% of the drugs that are available to Americans, they will be paying the lowest prices in the world. Trump RX, just in a short time since we put it up, has saved Americans $700 million. We now have 800 drugs on there. We have deals with Amazon and with GoodRx. We're adding more and more drugs every day, and I'll just give you one example. Praluent is a very popular cholesterol drug. Its list price is $522. That's what everybody is paying. We now have it on Trump RX for $237. That means that the 300,000 Americans who take that drug will be saving $3,700 a year on pharmaceuticals every year. And you can apply that across the board. This is going to change. It's making pharmaceuticals affordable, the most affordable in this country of any country in the world. Well, thank you, Mr. President.
How are you doing on the autism research?
We will have an answer for you. We just got
That's so important. Okay, we'll be talking about that. We'll be having something of interest. Such an important thing. There's a picture of your uncle right there on the wall. I know. Just looking at a handsome guy. And that's quite a picture. Did you see it?
Yeah.
So maybe that gave you the idea to start out that way, but it's quite a picture. Any questions?
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Go ahead.
We've seen these strikes between Iran and the United States for the past 10 days. How do you go about reviving the ceasefire and getting diplomacy back on track?
Well, I think we just want to win. We just want to win. We're doing very well. We're trying to be nice as you can be in a situation like that. But they're being decimated. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. They have no anti-aircraft. Doesn't mean they don't have any capability. They have some, but very little. We just want to win. We don't want to have them. It's very simple. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Iran will not have a nuclear weapon, and they can't have a nuclear weapon. If they did, the Middle East would have been wiped out by now. If I didn't stop the JCPOA, the Obama deal, if I didn't terminate that, they would have had a nuclear weapon. I believe Israel would no longer be with us in big parts of the Middle East and perhaps other countries in different continents, frankly, because these people are crazy. So they cannot have a nuclear weapon, and they won't.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Expect over the next 4 weeks, 8
Well,
weeks?
we'll be hitting them very hard. And, at some point they're going to say, we just can't take it anymore.
Mr. President, on the disarmament deal that you announced, do you have assurances from Israel that they are on board with this deal? And what comes first? Does Israel pull back and then Hamas disarms, or does Hamas need to disarm and then Israel leaves
So we
Gaza?
do have an understanding with Israel. Israel's very happy about it. Israel helped us. And they've been very good. They've been very good about it. Most people said that would be a deal that would be undoable. Now, will it go through its ups and downs? It's a very complex situation over there. The people are very complex and difficult. Many cases wonderful, in many cases not so wonderful. But that will be it's a great breakthrough. Nobody thought that would be possible, to disarm Hamas. That shows you how much success we're having with Iran. Because if you go 4 months ago, 5 months ago, a deal like that would have been impossible. So it's a big step for the Middle East, and people are really impressed by it, and they're surprised by it.
And what comes first, Mr. President? What comes first?
Mr. Infantino speak to you about their proposal to sell a stake in the World Cup, and is that something you support, having just
About
happened?
who?
Did FIFA or Mr. Infantino speak to you about their proposal to sell a stake in the
No, I
World
never
Cup?
spoke to them.
Mr. President, you said this morning on Truth Social that victims of government abuse should be paid back.
Yeah.
Even if it's not the anti-weaponization fund, would you still want the acting attorney general?
Well, I'm
to find a
talking
new way
about
to do
the
that?
weaponization against large numbers of people in our country by the Biden administration and by Obama, but by the Biden administration in particular in this case. But large numbers of people, their lives have been ruined, they've been destroyed, their families have been, decimated. They've gone to prison for no reason whatsoever. There's never been a group of people, most likely, I can think of a couple that were treated pretty badly, groups, but there's essentially never been a group of people treated so badly as these people. And this fund was not for me. This fund was for those people that have been weaponized, that have been abused. Now, I was abused. They attacked my house, Mar-a-Lago, where I live, and I was, big damages should have been given to me. I don't want anything. I'm not talking about myself. I think that there's a group of people in this country, history will show, that were treated like nobody else has ever been treated. So badly, so horribly. Their families have been ruined. Many, many suicides. They've committed suicide. People that were very successful that wanted to go to a rally or an event and ended up spending the rest of their lives in horror. No, so you can say what you want about the fund, and they've agreed to not have a fund. But there are a lot of people that are very upset about it. A lot of Republican people, a lot of Democrat people are very upset about it. A lot of people were covered. I wasn't covered by that fund. I don't want to be covered by the fund. I probably was abused more than anybody in the history of our country. But I wasn't looking for that. But there were a lot of people. And I'll tell you something, Todd Blanche is a very, very good man. And he shouldn't be in the middle of this. He should get approved, because you will never get anybody like him. You're never going to get anybody. And to make him a pawn in this whole thing, this is being done by a senator. And I don't really blame him, to be honest with you. I endorsed his opponent. And as soon as I endorsed his opponent went through the roof, and he won the primary election in Texas for the Senate. And the man that lost, the man that I didn't endorse, has become very angry, and that's okay. I mean, I understand that. I probably would do the same thing. You want to know the truth? I think I do the same thing.
Mr. President, on that though, do you agree, just to be clear, do you agree with the Acting Attorney General that the Anti-Weaponization Fund is dead? And why not just put that in
Well,
writing?
it is dead, but, I wish it weren't, to be honest with you. I think people were horribly treated, horribly abused. This has nothing to do with her. This was me. Horribly abused. And I'd like to see them compensated for the pain. They lost their families. They committed suicide. Many people committed suicide. They went down for an innocent journey. And I'm not only talking there, I'm talking about not even having to do with that. The way they were treated. The Biden administration and the Obama administration weaponized government and destroyed lives.
Do you want to find
Are you willing to accept limits on the scope of the audit immunity deal in order to get Attorney General Blanche confirmed?
Well, no, he should be approved forthwith. I mean, you're never going to get a person like that. Everybody agrees to it. Don't forget, Senator Cornyn thought he was phenomenal until he lost. When he lost, is that a correct statement? You come from Texas. I mean, he thought this was the most incredible person. And then when he lost because of me. I endorsed somebody else. And as soon as I endorsed the other person became a rocket ship upward. And he lost. And, I think I'd be the same.
But would you accept
I mean, I shouldn't say that, but I'd be upset also. And so I fully understand it. He shouldn't be that way. I shouldn't be that way. But he is that way. He's become a very angry person. And I understand. You have a couple of others that I've caused their defeat to. And, you'll probably hear from them too. Yeah.
Mr. President, back on Iran, there was a report that you got a proposal from the military to go big and hit them hard over 10 or 14 days.
Well, we're going big.
Are you going to consider?
We've already gone big. Look, I mean, what's big? They had 159 ships. That was their entire Navy, 159. Their entire Navy is laying at the bottom of the sea. I'd say that's going big. They had 200 airplanes. They're all gone. Every one of them. They don't have one airplane. They had anti-aircraft weaponry, very good, but it didn't work. And it's all gone. Their radar is all gone. Their leaders are all gone. Everything's all gone. But they'll fight onward.
Mr. President, on Ukraine, you said the other day that you're not sure about whether to grant Ukraine the Patriot missile license that had been discussed. Do you want to see more from Zelensky before you take that action?
Well, it's a big step. Look, we have the greatest weapons in the world. We have the greatest drones in the world. People don't know that. We have the greatest weaponry in the world. We have, in the case of President Zelensky, he'd like to have some Patriots. He'd like to have some Tomahawks, which are, lethal, one offensive, one defensive. But when you give somebody the right, very complex weapons, by the way. I mean, the Patriot, as an example, the other day you read that 5 missiles were shot. They were going 8,600 miles an hour. Think of it, 8,600. Now a car, if you go 60, it gets to be a little faster. If you go 100, 8,600 miles an hour, and they were big missiles. And they were shot at Jordan, and our guys were there. Bing, 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 bing. 5. Bing, 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 bing. Right? I don't want to be Biden. 6. I had to be very careful. That would have been a great sound bite. Right? There were 5 missiles, and we shot all 5 down before they got close. Nobody else has that capacity. These weapons are incredible, and we have to be very careful about letting somebody build them. It's very important. Now we are building many plants now to make those, and the Tomahawk missile is the most incredible thing. It can go into a doorway. You can put it through a window of a house. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You have to be very judicious, but you have to be very careful. Now, we have not agreed to that. We're talking about it, but it's a hard thing to give away that kind of technology. And I don't think this would ever happen, but those people that you give that technology, they can someday turn on you. That is possible. You look at war, it's happened a couple of times over the years, right? So we have to be very careful. I mean, we guard that. We have the greatest military in the world, but we have the greatest weapons in the world. Now we have to make them a little bit faster because we've given a lot away. President Biden, unfortunately, gave a lot away to Ukraine, and he gave, so did I. I mean, I gave them the javelins, the tank busters. Without the javelins, that war would have been a one-day war. It would have been over. They wiped out the tanks going up to Kiev. where they got stuck in the mud. They had a general that decided to go through the mud instead of going up the highway where they were going very nicely. It would have been over. But no, I gave them the javelins. The javelins are unbelievably. We have the greatest weapons in the world. We have to be very careful about giving out the secrets to those weapons. And they're not, you can't copy them. It's a little like NVIDIA. They have a chip. They say you cannot copy it. The complexity is so great you cannot. You know, most things you copy. China's known for it, other countries, we do something, and I guess we copy also. But most things you can copy pretty easily. There's a chip that they made, their ultimate chip, and they always have the ultimate chip. And I say, well, why doesn't somebody copy it? Because they can't, the complexity. They can't copy our weapons. We have the greatest weapons in the world, many of them. Those are just 2 or 3 that I mentioned, but you cannot copy them, so we have to be very careful.
As Hamas disarms as part of this plan, who do you see as taking possession of those weapons that they had? Does that go to the new government? Or does
it be the Board of Peace, mostly? It's going to be run by the Board. This Board of Peace has been it's led by some amazing people. Board of Peace.
Mr. President, you said they do have some capabilities left.
Yeah.
Should Americans be prepared for these back and forth attacks to continue until Iran simply isn't able of striking back?
They'll get weaker. They'll get a little stronger maybe now, but they'll get weaker and then they peter out. Yeah, sure, I think so. I mean, it'd be foolish to say no. You know, you always have to keep your guard up.
What is the status of talks? Who from the administration?
Well, they always want to talk, but they break their word so often. Steve is talking, Jared, we have very good people. JD's involved, very strongly involved. We have great people talking. Marco's involved.
Because they say talks aren't happening.
Very good people. We have the best people. But they'll make a deal. As an example, we'll talk about nuclear. And we'll be in there talking about nuclear for 7 hours. I say, why do you need 7? You can take 10 minutes. You have 5 minutes. You should solve it. But 7 hours. And then they'll go out and I'll say they discuss nuclear. And they'll go out and they'll say, we never discussed nuclear. And I say, why do they say that? All they do is make me angry. You know, they just make me angry. Any other questions?
Do you believe that you can reach a deal with Iran, given that you talked about?
I guess you can. I mean, look, I'm losing faith in them because they do lie and they do misrepresent. Well, the other day, the 5 missiles were shot. We knocked them down, but we were in the midst of a negotiation. I mean, I'm waiting for Steve to call me. How's the negotiation going? And instead, I got a call from Pete that they just shot 5 missiles at one of our bases in Jordan. You know, we have bases in Jordan. Fortunately, our people operated the equipment. It's also very complex to operate. You know, you talk about the equipment. It's you have to be, oftentimes you see, where did you go to school? MIT, Caltech. I mean, you know, they go to schools that are not as normal for the military, to be honest with you. We have unbelievably brilliant people operating that equipment. And when you don't, you know, the equipment, the shots miss, the safety misses, or the accuracy misses. We have unbelievable people. Think of it, we had 111 at one point, a couple of months ago. 111 over a short period of time. Missiles were shot at the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. Great, beautiful ship. One of the most beautiful ships to me, design-wise. 111 missiles going out. Out of the 111 missiles, 111 missiles were shot down quite a bit earlier than they got. I mean, long before they got there. They were shot down. It was almost, in a couple of cases, they were shot down almost as they were taking off. It's incredible technology. So you have a ship that costs billions of dollars, and you have missiles heading to it. 111 missiles were shot down, routinely shot down. And I spoke to the people. I like to reward people. I'll call them up. I'm the president. And they were cool as a cucumber.
Mr. President, the last 2 weeks of strikes by CENTCOM has said that those were meant to degrade Iran's ability to disrupt the Strait of Hormuz. How many more strikes will it take to significantly?
Well, you never know. Look, I mean, most people would have given up by now. You know, they've got no Navy, they got no Air Force. Most people would have given up. They haven't. So I give them credit for that. I mean, they're known as being tough. They're tough.
Back on Ukraine, what did you tell President Zelensky about the Patriots? Did you explain all that to him? Your concern?
I spoke about Patriots. I spoke to him about Tomahawks. Spoke to him about everything. I also spoke to him about let's get this war over with. So last month they had 25,000 people. It's averaging about 25,000 people a month die. Mostly soldiers, almost entirely, but you know, missiles are hitting areas also, but mostly soldiers. They had 25,000 soldiers. The month before that it was 32,000 soldiers. I said, you gotta get this war over with. I think he wants to make a deal, and I think Putin wants to make a deal. But there's a lot of dislike, as you probably notice.
He seems very reluctant to make concessions, President Putin. I mean,
Well, nobody wants to make concessions, but they're both going to have to make some concessions. I mean, you got to make a deal. 25,000 young, beautiful people, soldiers, mostly soldiers, are dying a month. It's. I ended 8 wars. That was the war I thought would maybe go first, and it really hasn't. It's gone last. I mean, I ended wars that were, in theory, much more difficult to end. We had a couple that were into the 30-year category. Well, the Congo, look at the Congo and Rwanda. That was our nasty war. And they have peace. I don't know how long that one's going to stay. But we ended India, Pakistan. 11 planes were shot down. That was raging. That was gone. I used tariffs. I said, if you're going to go to war, 250% tariff to each of them. And they screamed and yelled and were very angry. They were both angry about it. And a day later they called and they said, we will not go to war. But I ended up, and the Prime Minister of Pakistan said I saved 50 million lives. Because that's 2 nuclear powers, serious nuclear powers. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Enjoy Camp David. I don't. No, I think that Minnesota is behind it. You know who's behind it? Minnesota, because they're grossly incompetent. I think the governor's behind it. I don't think there was an Iranian cyber attack. I think that Minnesota ought to get its act together. It's one of the worst run states. JD will tell you. He found tremendous corruption in Minnesota. And by the way, just gave me a report. Massive future things having to do with corruption in Minnesota are happening right now. Thank you.
Have you talked to Senator Fetterman about leaving the
Thank you guys. Thank you. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what, at this point, it really does seem as if our nation's $39 trillion national debt really is just nothing more than an official fraud tracker. Seriously, because as the Trump administration continues to wage war on all of the Democrats' beloved federal fraud, we just keep finding more and more and more. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this breaking news report coming out this morning. The Department of Justice has just uncovered $350 million in alleged fraud. Let's get some details here. Break it down, scoop. Here's the scoop. The Justice Department's National Fraud Enforcement Division has uncovered roughly $350 million in alleged fraud across the southeastern United States, resulting in charges across 7 individual states. These southeastern states have agreed to a data sharing partnership with the DOJ that will give them access to publicly available corporate and registration and public benefits payment data held by these state agencies, according to information shared with the caller. This data is expected to help the DOJ easily recognize fraud patterns. Now, ladies and gentlemen, okay, something to keep in mind as we're talking about this $350 million in fraud just discovered, this partnership, 7 individual states in the Southeast. Okay. This $350 million is just in, like I said, 7 individual states, states that have actually agreed willingly to work with the Trump administration. So here's a question for you. What do you think might be hiding in some of these non-compliant, deep blue Democrat sanctuary states? What do you think they might be hiding? Why do you think they might not be complying? I'll tell you why. Billions, perhaps tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars worth of fraud, which is why all of them are currently fighting tooth and nail, legally speaking, that is, to prevent the Trump administration from conducting their audits. That's all they want. Hey, can we take a peek around? The Democrats, they love the fraud. They have facilitated the fraud. Why? Because they are the beneficiaries of the fraud. And finally, we're starting to gut the system. The gravy train is getting shut down. Now, I actually have some other additional good news here I want to share with you folks. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Take a look at this. This is going to blow your mind. Reported by the official Homeland Security page this morning, ICE is now seeking nearly $500,000 in fines against an immigration lawyer accused of filing fake asylum claims. Well. I wonder what this immigration lawyer's name is. I wonder what type of immigration lawyer would carry out $500 worth of fake asylum claims. Well, let's break it down. They are seeking a fine of over $474,000 to be precise against attorney Suraj Raj Singh, who filed over 118 individual fraudulent documents for his clients. Attorney Suraj Raj Singh. Under the leadership of President Trump, we are ending the abuse of our immigration system. Some more information. ICE is seeking over $470,000 in civil fines against a New York immigration attorney for filing fraudulent documents in support of immigration asylum claims on behalf of dozens of clients. Suraj Raj Singh is accused of filing 118 individual fraudulent documents in over 54 individual asylum cases, many containing nearly identical persecution accounts, primarily for Indian nationals. Persecution accounts that they were fabricating, really they were copy-pasting in order to help fill out these asylum cases. So keep in mind, if you are seeking asylum in the United States, during your asylum case, you have to prove that you were being persecuted in your home nation, that you were being discriminated against, you were facing, violence from your government, there's a genocide, blah, blah, blah. We don't just give asylum out to anybody. And so this individual, this attorney in the United States, Suraj Raj Singh, yes, he's an Indian man, was helping Indians lie to the United States, defrauding the United States and all the people therein, that's us, helping these people lie about being persecuted in their home nation of India. Now, Andrew Branca, one of my favorites, he chimed in, he said this. Look at this map up here. He said, "I can't believe that an immigration lawyer named Suraj Raj Singh was defrauding the American immigration system, especially given that fraud researchers assign India an infinity fraud ranking." Folks, okay, this is a fraud ranking map, country-level fraud rates with Stripe radar. I believe this is a payment processing system. So payment processors have determined which countries on the planet that are using Stripe radar are the most fraudulent. You might know the entirety of Africa, they don't use this system, so they're not in the system. But India sure is. And India is like a pitch black hole. Literally infinity fraud, like off the chart fraud. Everything going on in India is fraud. Nothing is not fraud in India, is what this map is showing. James Percival, representing the DHS, he says this morning, "We have been abundantly clear. If immigration attorneys commit fraud for their clients, the attorneys will be fined. This week, we issue a fine notice to Suraj Raj Singh totaling $470,000, more than that. This attorney filed 118 fraudulent documents." Now, if I might push back, first off, Mr. Percival, excellent work, patriot. If I might make a little bit of a request here, $470,000, that's a slap on the wrist. That's nothing. Might I suggest deporting this guy? Might I suggest putting Suraj Raj Singh into the back of a plane and dumping him over in India with all of his Indians that he seems to love so much? Can we just get him out of the... Why are we finding him? Get him out of the country, right? That's what I'm saying. You think this guy's going to get a $474,000 slap on the wrist and then change his behavior? No, he's going to try to do it in a more covert way, in a more sneaky way. That's what he's going to do going forward. Get him out of the country. Now, we also have another positive update I want to share with you folks today. The Trump administration is now moving forward with revoking the visas of foreign drivers with DUIs. They've come out today publicly and they've said, okay, listen, if you are a tourist, you have a work visa, student visa, travel visa, whatever type of visa you have in this country, if you're getting DUIs, we're kicking you out. If you're endangering the lives of Americans driving drunk while on a temporary visa, you're a foreigner in our country, you're a guest, and you're driving drunk, potentially killing Americans, you're gone. You're out of here. Good. You know, saving this nation, there's not just one flip you can switch. Oh, nation not saved, flip it. All right, nation saved, flip that switch, of course. No, it's a series of like 10 million small little switches, right? Switch, boop, boop. And every time you flip a switch, it saves the nation to a factor of 0.01%. And you have to find all of these little switches and flip them on, right? There's no immediate kill shot. This here is one of these tiny little switches that's going to help along the way of saving this republic. Good. This is exactly the type of stuff we need to see. Now, we also got some very good news the other day. I wanted to repeat this. Self-deportations right now under the Trump administration are absolutely skyrocketing under Project Homecoming. The Trump administration's self-deportation program, dubbed Project Homecoming, has seen over 200,000 illegal alien participants in the 14 months since the program went into effect in May of 2025. What are the details of this program? Illegal aliens are offered $2,500. This is an incentive to willingly work with the DHS to self-deport. $2,500? Oh, it's a lot of money. We're paying them to leave? Well, let's put this into context. ICE-involved forced deportations generally cost around $18,000 per illegal alien. So Project Homecoming's self-deportation program is offering a much more cost-efficient solution. Good. Project Homecoming started slowly with just 24,000 participants in the first 6 months. Over the last 8 months, however, thanks to a massive promotional awareness campaign, over 176,000 illegal alien participants have made use of the program and are now gone. Once again, in the first 6 months, 24,000. In the following 8 months, 176,000. That's a big increase. In June of 2026, specifically last month, over 20,000 voluntary departures were recorded, more than the first 5 months of Project Homecoming's existence combined. Similarly, in June of 2026, ICE recorded a total of 43,140 illegal alien arrests at a rate of 1,438 per day. When considering both ICE arrests and Project Homecoming's self-deportations, we are currently seeing over 2,100 illegal aliens exit this country per day at a minimum. Why do I say at a minimum? At a minimum because, keep in mind, there are illegal aliens that are self-deporting on their own, not participating in Project Homecoming. That's one thing to consider. In fact, last year, in 2025, we saw about 2.1 million of them do that. What's more, a lot of these 187G partnership agreements, those arrests through that program are also sometimes not counted in the ICE arrests as well every single day. So if you're somebody that's super concerned about mass deportations, guess what? We are getting them. And much to no one's surprise, the country is already better as a consequence of kicking out all of these third world illegal alien invaders. Take a look at this. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt came out this morning and said this: law and order is back. in the first half of 2026 versus the same period last year. Okay? Homicides are down 18%. Carjackings are down 47%. Motor vehicle thefts across the country are down 20%. Robberies are down 18%. Burglaries, residential burglaries, are down 13%. Folks, let me ask you a question here. Is it a coincidence that across this entire country we are seeing all types of crime, violent and otherwise, plummet? The crime rates are plummeting at the exact same time that we are also getting rid of millions of illegal alien third world delinquents every single year. You can't help but notice the trend. The fewer third world illegal alien criminal delinquents we have, also the less crime we have. It's almost like there's a relationship there. I don't know. Maybe I'm a right-wing conspiracy theorist. Folks, all of this stuff is exactly what I want to see, what I'll speak for all of us, what we want to see if we truly want to put America first.
Now it's time for Lefties Losing It. And before we dive into the cowardice of Anthony Fauci, let's hear from an actress who is just awful these days. Much is said about her appearance. I've got to say, we don't care on this program about how much Ozempic she has or doesn't have or what she looks like. What we care about is what's on the inside. And Olivia Wilde has gone from being regular Hollywood kooky to being a heartless Harridan. Let's take a look at the good old days where she was just weird. Here she is, chanting at Trump's building like a simpleton.
Trump is not a legitimate president!
Trump is not a legitimate president!
Trump is not America!
Trump is not America!
Oh, the good old days of election denial. She peaked there. Now she is just deeply unpleasant, full of bile and delusional, and she thinks she is intellectually and morally superior. Listen to her talk about a man who is, by any objective measure, a genius.
Have you met Elon Musk?
I have. I met him before he turned into this creature. I really resent him now. I never would have predicted that he would go the path that he's gone now because he did seem really smart.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets a lot worse. Listen to how she and Louis Theroux, you know him, is the dumb person's idea of a smart person. Listen to these two call Jordan Peterson a pseudo-intellectual and then mock and dismiss the plight of young men.
I was quite harsh about Jordan Peterson, and then he went on Piers Morgan and cried.
You said the Chris Pine character, he's partly based on or inspired by Jordan Peterson, who you described as a pseudo-intellectual hero to the incel community.
Yeah.
So when he's asked about it by Piers Morgan, he literally starts crying.
Just starts crying.
And then Piers was like, what's happening, man? And he said, I'm thinking of those lonely young men, quote, dying for lack of an encouraging word.
Wow. Lack of an encouraging word is so absurd. I'd say there is a large, booming word of encouragement happening at all time for these men, which is just, this world is yours and you are entitled to it, which I think is deeply ingrained in our society. And the idea that they need some sort of reminder of encouragement, that they deserve more, is ludicrous.
What a heartless creature, to use her term, a heartless creature full of hate and somehow so boldly confident despite her meagre knowledge. Arrogance and ignorance is a dangerous, ugly mixture. Now, Olivia, despite meeting Elon Musk, receiving money from him for a charitable cause, is still disgusted by him because, like most of America, he backed Donald Trump over the Democrats. And that slander and unhinged hate for Musk isn't confined to lefties in the US. The Brits are arguably even worse. Some of them want to lock him up for protecting free speech by purchasing Twitter and actually allowing it to be an unbiased social media platform. But standing up for free speech comes at a cost. It makes you a pariah in much of the media, and it also makes you far right.
You support not just the populist right, but the far right. In fact, very fringe parties in some countries.
No, I support the normal people.
Okay.
What do you call the far right? Falsely.
You think as the normal person? Okay.
Yes. Literally, you could go back 10 or 15 years, and these policies were completely normal.
But
not
no, I'm
fringe
talking
right,
about
please.
people
It's actually just normal people. It's just normal people. It's just normal people. And and here are the principles. And tell me which of these sound terrible. That we should have secure borders. That we should have safe cities. That we should have sensible spending. Which of those three are far right
Those
fringe?
three? No,
And I would like to just admonish you and the media for the absurd characterization of the far right. It is false and misleading and nonsense. Please keep this part in.
We'll keep all of this in. But
Bravo, Elon. But the Economist editor-in-chief, Zanny Minton-Beddoes, wasn't done yet. She was determined to show just how smug and proudly out of touch the media has become. And Elon was there, ready to give her a reality check.
It's why people loathe you. I mean, some people do loathe you.
Yes, some people do.
But do you understand why? Do you think what you're doing is helpful for Western democracy?
Maybe some people do loathe me. And that's probably true. I don't care. But the fact that as you pointed out, 250 million people follow me is that I think a lot more people actually like me than don't. And I think a lot more people hate you and the media more than you realize.
Yes, the media, bulk of the media is loathed for good reason. And most of them, like Zanny there, are oblivious.
You're loathed far more than I am. And you don't seem to even realize that.
I think very few people know who I am relative to you, so I don't think I play in the same game.
The media collectively. So, I mean, you're hated. Do you even know that? You probably don't.
Now to the astonishing Senate hearing earlier today featuring former chief U.S. health official Anthony Fauci.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anything you say, 5. Go ahead, ask me a question. Did you? A secret document that I think you need to say.
You know, I'm sorry to say, the real thing was even worse. This malignant little megalomaniac was granted a preemptive presidential pardon, and yet he declined to answer any questions, invoking the Fifth Amendment 111 times. That was too much for Senator Bernie Moreno.
Those policies were put in place because you had moronic politicians that listened to the words of a megalomaniac who was more interested in having met a Kardashian than the suffering of the American people. And that is you. It was about 6 years ago today that I decided I'm going to give up my businesses, sell them all, run for office, run for the United States Senate. Here I am sitting in front of you 6 years later saying, who the do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country.
Now, watch here as Senator Josh Hawley rips into this shameless little charlatan. You may need a cigarette after this.
Well, nothing says honesty like taking the fifth, huh, Doc? Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie you're wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color's the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people.
Ooh, nailed it. Nailed it. And then Senator Hawley took Fauci through some of his actions during the height of the COVID pandemic.
I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic, you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally, cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
You remember Greg Folkers? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Your chief of staff is the answer. Do you remember Patricia Conrad? Who was that?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
And it wasn't just Fauci acting a fool. His lawyers were also deliberately obstructing proceedings.
The attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table, and he's not obeying that recommendation. There's a row behind you, sir. That's where you were told to sit, and you're not. And now you're disrupting the proceedings. And so, look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered, for a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered, and that's what you're going to do. You are not recognized, sir. Security, please remove him from the room. Let the record state that Dr. Fauci will still have the advice of the other half a dozen attorneys that he brought along today.
Half a dozen attorneys just to plead the Fifth 111 times. Now, somehow, despite all the available evidence, the celebrity class is still defending Anthony Fauci. Here is a leftist TV host, Andy Cohen, writing on X, "The country is an absolute dumpster fire. A war with no plan, skyrocketing prices, a deeply unpopular, demented president. So let's go after Fauci." What an absolute joke. Yeah, you nailed it there, Andy. And have a listen to this from TMZ's Harvey Levin, who took over TMZ's official account, which has far more followers than his own account, to post this.
Watching Anthony Fauci before a congressional hearing taking the Fifth Amendment is just one of the most heartbreaking things I have seen in government in my lifetime.
Yes, Harvey Levin is a lefty idiot. He watched a man dodge accountability and his heart was broken. Not for the American people, but for Fauci, the little narcissist with a fame obsession. And then Harvey likened today's hearings to McCarthyism.
We are in a Senator Joseph McCarthy climate where there is such fear that people have.
You know, I don't remember Harvey Levin saying a word when there was genuine McCarthyism during the Obama and Biden years, when Trump associates were jailed on politically motivated charges, when they tried to put Trump and his family in jail, and he has nothing to say about the blacklisting of conservatives in Hollywood. But now he's coming out defending the indefensible.
And we are turning him into what Rand Paul wants to be, a criminal. And Rand Paul has a political agenda, and it is prevailing here. Watching Rand Paul order security to throw Anthony Fauci's lawyer out of that hearing was unbelievable to me. We are in a dark period of America.
You absolute simpleton. Fauci still had around half a dozen lawyers sitting there after that recalcitrant attorney was ejected for repeatedly interrupting proceedings. And Harvey Levin, I haven't forgotten how you lied about your staff celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder. I see you. Let's bring in host of the Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered podcast, Kinsey Schofield. Kinsey, what did you make of Harvey Levin's passionate defense of Anthony Fauci? Was Levin watching the same hearing that we were watching? I mean, it felt entirely upside down. Rand Paul is one of the most moral, cleanest, unproblematic politicians in my lifetime. Like, the fact that he would go after Rand Paul absolutely blows my mind. The newly released diary entries raise serious questions about Fauci's priorities and public image. Americans do deserve transparency from public officials. And when you're called before Congress and repeatedly invoke the Fifth Amendment, people are naturally going to ask what you're trying to hide. For years, Americans were told to simply trust the experts and trust the science. And now they're asking perfectly reasonable questions, and suddenly accountability is considered persecution. I do think that public trust was damaged during the pandemic. And if these leaders want to rebuild it, transparency is the only way forward.
It seems like Harvey Levin is relying on the ignorance of his audience. He's relying on them not to actually watch the footage for themselves. And then he can give them this narrative without them having any knowledge that challenges the absurdity that he's spewing there. And for him to take over TMZ's official accounts, and this was not just on YouTube, also on all their social media platforms, that message of his got out to tens of millions.
Well, he's taken a break from disrupting the Nancy Guthrie case that he continues to, in my personal opinion, jeopardize through posting these notorious notes that are not actually from the kidnappers. So, he's a disruptor is my point. He's a disruptor. When is he doing good? When is he actually trying to add value? He's one of the ones that were chasing down Britney Spears in '97 when she's shaving her head and running amok. This is not somebody that does anything to try to make the world a better place or society a better place. We have to be realistic about who we're dealing with here.
Yo, this is getting insane. They have now crossed the number of 100,000 people that have swum into this area in Spain. The borders are overwhelmed. They have completely collapsed. They're going into another city chanting something that rhymes with a lot of snack bar. Guys, we've got a situation on our hands. This is literally why you do not ever go full socialist. Watch this. We got some updates from Spain. They're deploying the military. This is a situation. All right, here we go. Let's get into this. If you're enjoying the content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on. 80,000 African migrants are estimated to have crossed from Morocco into Spain today, with the hourly flow possibly 12,000 per hour. Yo, 12,000 people per hour. They are now at the rate of more than half of the existing population of the area in a few hours. This is a 100% executable invasion. This is planned. This is happening. It is 100% intentional. I'm telling you guys, they just came out and did amnesty for about 1 million of these people. You think they don't know that? This is why you don't go open borders, open leftism, and open socialism. Well, I got even more for you. The stuff that I'm about to show you right now in this update, they're deploying the military. The Spanish people who are actually in the area are openly fighting with the individual migrants who are in there now. Somehow, buying stuff. That's weird. It's amazing how, look, those are the people who are kicking them and pushing them. Those are the existing Spaniards, okay? Well, Spaniards, you voted in a socialist. Hey, democratic socialist, how you feeling in America right now? Because this is exactly what we stopped when we did this whole number with the Department of Justice and, not the border. Excuse me. Right here, this is what would have been us unless Trump closed the border. That is, in the month of January of 2025, it started falling off a cliff, and by February, it was right around 11 or 9, and it's been that way the entire time. Y'all, what we are watching is what we would have been if we had continued the open border policies of the Biden administration, the Democrats, the leftists, and the socialists. By the way, the leftists right now are still out there being socialist on Fox News saying that we need open borders and complete and total amnesty. Hey, Republicans, you want your campaign topic? It's knocking on your door right now via Spain. España is showing you a perfect contrast to while our borders are shut, they can just swim into the country and they're overwhelming the entire area. I've got clips on clips on clips. Look at this. The stuff coming out of Spain right now is insane, and I've got even more up here. Just wait, I got more. That right there is no military push-up really being able to keep this many people contained. So the entire area has been overwhelmed. They're going into another city now. Y'all, I'm telling you, this is what happens when you have open borders, open amnesty, socialists take over your government. This is why the Democrats can't be allowed to win, because we literally just plugged this hole in our country. In fact, if you want to look back in time, look, you tell me there's not a correlation here. America and Spain, that is quite the contrast, isn't it? That was what happened in America under the Biden administration. That's what happens in Spain. It's the same thing. It's the same tactic. Overwhelm the system with people from a different country just through migration. This isn't difficult. It's not hard to see. The amount of people you pour into a nation are directly representative of how badly you can destroy that nation. If you can overwhelm the system, there's an entire thing called Cloward and Piven. There's an entire strategy which is overwhelm the infrastructure, overwhelm the benefit structure, and then the entire thing collapses. You literally are watching it happen in real time. Military's been deployed. They can't stop them. It's 80,000 people, 100,000 people in under 5 hours. Y'all, this is next level insane. And this is what was happening under Biden. The last time the Democrats were in charge. This is why I fight so hard on this channel. I grind my fingers to the freaking bone because I don't want this again for our country, for our people. This right here is where we just came out of. This right here is Spain right now. They're bringing bikes, people. Look at this. I'm gonna kill the audio. Look, they are swimming across the ocean with bikes. And wow, impressive swim. It's a 6-mile swim that you just made with a bike. I mean, if you're gonna do it, at least do it right. The Moroccans are bringing bicycles up in here. This is a parody of itself. Let's keep on going. I got even more for you, guys. This is nuts stuff. Update. Spain has reportedly decided to send in the military to finally address the invasion by thousands of men, which, by the way, it is about 100,000 military-age men. They were doing this to our country. If that doesn't activate you, I don't know what does. This is literally the Democrats' plan and desire. You saw them all go on the internet and on TV and all the cable news networks. This is what they want in our country. We already lived through it for one time with Biden. Why not do it again? This is literally it. They openly say they want open borders. They openly say open immigration, and they openly say amnesty for everybody. It's exactly what Spain did. They offered amnesty to about 1 million people who were illegal immigrants. And then wouldn't you know it, just like the Facebook messages go out, 100,000 people decide randomly and magically to swim 6 miles across a channel and then end up in this exact same place. Y'all, I may have been born at night, but I wasn't born last night. Let's keep on going. This is just the updates. Now, this is not, I mean, it's in Spanish, so I'm not actually going to play this for the audio, but you can see it. This is an actual journalist. These are all the people that are just flooding in, and Spain goes, immigration is not really a national security crisis. Is it not? Because that looks a whole lot like about 100,000 military-age men walking through with not a whole lot of women and children. That whole refugee status argument thing ain't looking too good. Look, they're just mogging the camera too. Like, oh, look, I haven't seen one of these before. I mean, look, you are seeing it happen. This is in Spain right now. This is happening as of this moment, and they're not stopping there. This woman is just reporting on it. But look, it's absolutely wild what these people are doing. And this is from Data Republican. This is some breaking stuff. I've got to confirm this, so bear with me. This is what they're reporting. The Ceuta invasion is being coordinated by Facebook groups. The flagship group description, Ceuta by every route. Migration is an idea, and the idea does not die. This is an absolute and total overwhelm of the system. It's a Cloward and Piven strategy, third world style. You're looking at it happen, people. It's truly insane, the things that you are witnessing right now. Breaking update, Spain's civil guard chief declares the border has totally collapsed. Thousands of military-aged African men have poured over the border in the past several hours. This is because Spain just gave amnesty to illegals. All amnesty does is encourage more illegal immigration. Yeah, no kidding. Y'all, I'm going to go back. I got more stuff in a second, but I want to say this real quick. If we do not lock down and we do not stop the doomerism, and we do not stop the idiocy coming from the Podcastistan area and listening to lefties, this is going to be back on our doorstep again. Right now, the Trump administration plugged the hole. They're not coming through. But in Spain, the effort is still obviously under full support. This is actively happening. You're watching these people run around randomly and chaotically. I want to ask you a very simple question, men out there, women out there. What would you feel like if you had a city with 100,000 people, and then all of a sudden 100,000 other people came in who didn't speak your language? They were all majority men, 18 to 25 years old-ish. And then you have young children, or you have a family, or you have young daughters, or you have jobs, or you have an economy, or you have shops. What do you think this is going to do? It's going to directly sow chaos into your lives in your area. This is what's going to happen. It's not even a question. Let's keep on going. Look. This is insane. The stuff that I've got in these clips is nuts. This is what's coming down right now from Morocco to keep entering Quetta. You can't even imagine the invasion we're living through right now on the streets of the city. Please share widely. We do need a voice to stop this. We can't do anything to make it stop in Spain, but we can use this as an example to say not here, not now, not never. Y'all, this is a orchestrated event. This is not, this many people did not just magically go, you know what would be a good day to do right now? It would be a good day to swim 6 miles across a channel and then, or a strait really rather, the Strait of Gibraltar, towards the Strait of Gibraltar, and then just start doing these migrant caravans. This is intentional. It is supported because they opened the door and they said there's a legal amnesty and you can come and be a citizen in a first world country. What do you think this is going to do to the inflation rate, the crime rate, the ownership rate, the house price, the rent price, the grocery price, and the gas price? The same thing that happened here in the United States. I've been banging on this drum for a while, and I'm going to continue to be banging on this drum. I got more. Look. This is the next city. They've already come into, I cannot say these words properly because I don't see the tildes and all the right accent marks, but Melilla, let's just call it that. It's come under attack by migrants, and they're all screaming something that rhymes with a lot of snack bar, okay? Like you just figure it out, where they're from, what their religion is, and you figure that one out. But what we're looking at is a full-on overthrow of the entire nation. Just by migrants and refugees. It's almost like it's orchestrated. Let's keep on going. I got some more stuff for you to compare and contrast. I've already shown you that was our southern border. Here's the other time that we have. This was again under the Biden administration. There's all the border. That's the Rio Grande with all the immigrants that are crossing the Rio Grande under the Biden administration. Does it look familiar? It should look familiar. And here's the big tie-in. If you're still in this video, I appreciate it. What you're watching right now is the single most salient issue that you can hit on if you're on the Republican side. You can go with affordability. You can go with the economic impacts of this many people just bombarding a border and taking over an area with just sheer mass of people. You can go down the road of immigration, crime. You can go down cost of living, affordability. This is literally the way to handle this. You're watching it happen, people. It's absolutely bananas. I didn't have this on my bingo card for the day, but we're going to keep you apprised to it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden. Later.
White liberal women are obsessed with migrants. As 60,000 new migrants invaded the small Spanish city of Quetta just in the last 24 hours, some Spanish white girls welcomed them with open arms, waving them to come in, greeting them upon the beaches, giving them hugs, falling in love, and demonstrating their suicidal empathy for all of the world to see. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what white liberal women are up to. Have a church filled with white liberal women talking about their love for illegal migrants, waving them to invade and take over your country. I mean, she's standing in the middle of a stampede. She apparently has never seen The Lion King and how dangerous that can be. And they're screaming like animals, screaming in different languages. So this clip has resurfaced. This actually came from a 2021 invasion of Quetta. So this has been going on for years at this point, and the Spanish government is doing nothing about it. I guess we're supposed to look at a clip like this and say, wow, this is humanity at its finest. A worker from the Red Cross consults a man who just, he had to swim into Spain. Poor guy made these decisions and now he's tired. Poor man. I mean, I don't think that this swim was very difficult for this large, very athletic looking male. I think he's okay. It's a little dramatic. Like, what is going on? This is ridiculous. What is happening here? They're just like fully embracing each other. And I'm speechless. Okay? People like this, women like this, they leave me a little bit speechless. Okay, real question though. Do any of these men, does this man, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they don't really care about this woman who's handing them water. And, we do all of these things that give them free food, give them free housing. And then they talk about how much they hate America. Are they going to give you the same loving treatment in return? Or maybe are they just using you for your resources? Yes, it's the later, okay? It's facts. So these people have been given food and snacks from these liberal women. Instead of taking care of children, they choose to take care of migrants instead. Okay. It just shows that women do have this natural tendency to want to nurture and care for people. But instead of like having children, because they refuse to do that, they're like, oh, I'm going to take care of these men that really need help. Flirted too hard, and now this is my life in a small Pakistani colony. Was that her toilet? This might be a toilet. Yeah. Flirted too hard, and now I'm going to the bathroom in a hole in the ground. Love, because these women, they're expected to do all of these things for love. They're told that that's beautiful, multiculturalism, all this togetherness. I'm going to give up everything and go poop in a hole for this man, and in return for me, he'll do what? Not work. In return, he'll have you take care of his chickens. Great. I'm pretty sure we've seen examples of how that ends, whatever, each to their own, but I just don't understand how women can be facilitating the abuse that other women are receiving, because other women do not want to have these men in their country. They don't want to be harassed like this. And so when you have liberal women standing on the borders being like, come on in, we're so welcoming to you. We want you guys here. We love you. You can do whatever you want with us. We're your Barbie dolls and stuff. That's the mentality that they go into these countries thinking that they can mess with everybody, like the schoolgirls, everybody. Like, read the 200-page R-word inquiry before you go to the border and be like, I love you, here's some water. Before you go move to Pakistan. Like, what is wrong with people? Is this a guy looking at a woman through a window? Wow. He really seems like he loves her. This is just ridiculous. Okay, here we have, okay, so this is the full video of that Red Cross worker. Are you guys recording? Are you guys getting this? Are you guys getting, here's some water. Here's some water for you. What is happening? So apparently she had to set her social media account to private, and people in the comments are like, there are people who are possibly blanked behind him. He's in a state of immense trauma. Well, maybe he should not have tried to swim around the border into Spain. Like, what? Like, instead of receiving him, they should be like, what are you doing? Like, you're insane. You need to go back. This person says the fact that someone has received abuse about being such a kind-hearted individual, there's something seriously wrong with some in the world. It's called suicidal empathy. Okay? It's called no survival instincts whatsoever. The same survival skills that this woman has. This is what I'm getting from this clip. No man has ever really been interested in me. Clearly. No man really cares about me whatsoever. But when I'm like a minority out of the 10,000 men, suddenly there's many men who are interested in me. Who would have ever imagined? You're a 2 in Britain and a 5 in Pakistan. Congrats. And mostly all that they really see is like full citizenship. Even though, what, they're not going to be deported anyway. This woman apparently married a man from Gaza, and she just so happens to be a school teacher. Of course she is. And the same liberal white women who love migrants just happen to be the same ones teaching our children.
Add that Laura, yay, just got married. She got married to a man in Gaza on Zoom, and I was there.
She got married on Zoom.
As part of the guest, yeah, the guest. So I'm sure we'll hear more about that. But Laura also is a busy woman.
It sucks so bad because these women have such a fairy tale bull crap lie in their head that, oh, these men, like, they're so traditional or like they're so masculine and stuff, which is weird because you think that they're liberal women so that they would want to be with a liberal male. And then they put in their bios and stuff like, oh, I hate Trump supporters and stuff. Yet they'll go for men that beat women. And they're like, oh, like traditions and like culture. And it's like, are you out of your mind? Here you have a Spanish woman celebrating the Moroccan invasion. Of course she is.
Exactamente, ¿qué opino? Pues que son personas que necesitan vienen por unas mejores condiciones.
What would be my opinion? Of course, like I want them to be able to come here and have better conditions for life.
Sus situaciones son situaciones muy precarias.
Their situations are very difficult.
La situación ahora mismo, además del CETI y todas estas administraciones que los...
Little does she know, like the difficulty is coming to her. Like, you guys are importing the difficulty with the very welcome arms, by the way. Giving this guy a massage. Wow, how the roles have switched in some cases. These white women becoming their slaves. Yes. Let me massage you. Let us serve you. Let us give you your reparations. Because you apparently deserve it. This guy wants to know this.
Andy's Armada is invading Britain as we speak. So far, 1,470 illegal migrants have crossed the Channel since Burnham became.
So he's basically asking, what do these liberal women think when a small boat migrant blanks a girl? You know, I guess they don't care. Sincerely. Because you cannot be that blind. liberal white women on their way to save illegal Haitians and Syrians from being deported. No, we'll save you. We love you. They're so weird. They just love the attention. Straight up. Look at, this is worldwide. It's an epidemic. White liberal women just doing everything for migrants. Look at how they treat white men who are against these migrants. These white men are trying to protect these women and their families and their economy, make things more affordable, just improve their lives, make it safe. And that's how they treat them, just horribly.
Come on, baby. Come on, darling. Let's exchange the... Oh, that's it. Let me take that moment from you. Come on, darling. Come on, baby. Let's exchange the experience.
Oh, yeah. Definitely be mocking the man who is trying to improve your country and trying to make him feel bad. And then meanwhile, you just love, look at those bangs. I just can't. This woman found love, but it's with an illegal alien. Do you guys think that this is going to end well? Or do you think, oh, maybe he's with you to get a green card, you idiot. And then he got detained. But she's willing to do anything. Great. Are you going to move across the world to go be with your lover? And then he's going to wait until he can come to the US and then do nothing to support your relationship because he never actually gave a shit about you. These women must hate themselves so much.
So I'm going to try to not. The last month, I met someone who is very important to me. I always thought that when you know, you know. When you meet someone, I say, that's bullshit. Now I believe it.
Okay, get to the part where he gets deported, please. Come on. You can do it. Whatever. She's just crying. I don't usually post videos crying, but I'm going to be crying in this video. Okay. This is how it ended for this woman who moved to Ireland to be with some, I believe, I think he was a Pakistani guy.
I'm sure when she made these cute and cuddly videos, she thought she would just show those evil racists how kind these poor migrants are. And maybe she thought she was being compassionate, but she ended up dead in her own bed, found by her young daughter. Now, last I checked, police are still hunting the suspect who had been staying with her, and the liberal media is so captured.
And we need to understand that this has become a serious problem, that so many women have been told that, you're not going to find a good guy here, or they've just been really given this idea that America sucks so bad, Western civilization, we're the reason why all horrible things happen in the world. And it's all foreign propaganda that is meant for these other countries to further their agendas that are anti-American. These white liberal women have been convinced that facilitating their own destruction is the actual best thing that they could do. Truly, I believe people are not going to realize what they have until they lose it. You don't realize how amazing America is until you're living in a different country and unable to live or earn in dollars or be able to have access to this amazing country and all of the resources that we have, the abundance here. But what could be even worse than that is not being able to come back to the United States. If the US and the West is gone, there will be no other place in the country to have those freedoms, to have this abundance, because generations have fought for these things in wars, millions of people have died. And at this point, people don't care. Their own grandchildren don't care. And it's really devastating. And I think it just shows maybe there's been a lack of connection between families, that they're not having these important conversations. Instead, everybody is only really connected to social media, to their algorithms, to different people that they see online. That's where they're getting their opinions from. And yeah, that human component, we just need to start talking to each other more and being more grateful for what the West has provided all of us, because it truly is the greatest place in the world. The United States is the best country in the world. I don't think that we should be like that woman or this woman or these fake churchgoers. you know, just virtue signaling stuff. This is the reason why we support ICE, why we support our military, and like, yeah, we're not going to facilitate our takeover. I think these people are a minority, but they're just super loud and they're also kind of funny. So that's why their clips get shared a lot. But truly seeing what has happened in Spain, I think is just, it's devastating. It's shocking. But yeah, I'll keep you guys updated. So make sure you're subscribed for those updates, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.
We are America Mission. Make America your mission.